Okay, so I'm here with Lucia, and we are in the Painted Lily, and today we're going to talk to her about the sketchbook process that she uses and her many books that you know I've already suggested that you take a look at. Go to her website, that's luciac.com, to get the books, and let's start talking to Lucia.
Hi.
Hi. So on all of the magnificent books that you've made, what book do you feel like has your favorite sketch prompt to work with that you always go back to?
Yeah, definitely the Creative Journal. That was my first book, and it's the foundation of all of the books that came after that. In fact, each book I've written is really spun out of a chapter in that book. So that's the basic core piece of work about using a journal with art and writing for personal growth. Because it's not just about making decorative pages. It's about using art to get in touch with ourselves. And if the art that comes out of that is pleasing, that's fine. That's not the goal by any means. Now, the book is also a good resource, and it ends up being a great place for raw material for finished art later on. And artists use my book a lot for that purpose. They get their ideas, they talk about how they feel about what they're doing, they get through their blocks, because there are exercises in the Creative Journal and all my other books about how to get through creative blocks. So they're doing all their process in the journal itself, but they're also getting their creative ideas. So it's an all-purpose kind of book.
So if you had to pick one thing from the Creative Journal that you tend to make in your own journaling that you go back to, that you do over again, like the how am I feeling?
That's it. The bottom line is, how do I feel right now? It's the one I use the most in my own journal. It's the one that I teach the most. It's the one that my clients get the biggest benefit from. If they get in the practice of doing that every day, they really change their lives and their creative output.
Of the how do I feel right now?
Drawing a picture of it and then writing about it.
I think, that's the one that's influenced me the most of all of them too, but I always wonder what Lucia does the most.
That's the one. I always tell people if I have only one exercise. In fact, we sent soldiers to Iraq with journals. We did a program in South Texas, and we put journal prompts on little laminated cards. We gave them journals and felt pens, and we sent them to Iraq with that kit. And they had a lot of experience writing how they felt and drawing that in these little journals. And when they came back, they had the highest score in mental health testing.
Really?
The people that we trained.
Yeah, I need to get my son hooked up on that right now. I sent him a Bible, but I didn't send him a journal, but that's a good idea. He's over there for the third time.
Yeah, well, when they got back, I had to do mental health testing, and we were told that our group of people that did our journal class in South Texas came back probably in better shape than anybody else they worked with. So and of course we've used it in schools, and we've gotten incredible results in terms of mental health, but also absenteeism went down, tardiness disappeared, behavior problems disappeared. I mean, on all scores of evaluation in schools. When we did a 2-year program in the Mission District in South Texas, we were head and shoulders above anything else. We were just really scoring very high.
One of the things that the teachers that I've worked with say that is a reason that they don't use journaling in the classroom is that they feel like that they have to look at it for legal reasons to make sure that there isn't something.
No, that's totally bogus. That is not true.
Okay.
The guidelines on legality are the same as a teacher overhearing in the playground that a child is being abused. And so they do have to report that, but they absolutely do not ever have to read journals. We've done this in school districts in Southern California and South Texas. I get letters from people who have gotten my book, The Creative Journal for Children and one for teens. They've used it in schools, and I've told them, do not use this method unless it's going to be confidential for the children, because it's not safe for the children to have a journal if it's going to be read. The whole purpose of a journal is to be honest with yourself and be relaxed and be able to express exactly who you are and how you feel. and what you want. And if somebody else is going to read that, you might as well throw it in the trash. It's useless. So my attitude is don't do it. If you think you have to look in that journal, then don't do my method. You're not doing the creative journal. You may call it something else, but it's not the creative journal.
I totally agree.
I'm a therapist, first and foremost. I'm also an educator, but I'm a therapist, and I'm an artist as well. And for me, the confidentiality of a journal is sacred. And we don't have a strong enough sense about boundaries in this society right now. And we need to, but that's why, you know, children get abused, because they don't know how to say no. They don't know how to talk to anybody else about abuse. And so we need to teach children that something is sacred. And if you start with a journal and you say, this journal is sacred, we hold it sacred, we're not going to invade that. Children draw that conclusion. Oh, this is sacred, oh, well then I guess I am too, because my feelings are in that journal. And I guess I get to have boundaries. I get to say no. Right. So if you tell kids this is sacred, I mean, we have seen in South Texas, which is a very high-risk area, 98% Hispanic in the schools we worked in, extreme poverty, lots of violence, and lots of alcoholism and drugs. Drug dealing, drug use, I mean, a real high-risk area. And we were working under federal funds for that reason. We were able to get those funds. And we saw such amazing things changing in the classroom. Kids who had been bullies, kids who were very violent in the classroom, they just calmed down because they were given these journals every day to just draw and write their feelings out. And we gave them journal prompts. We didn't just say, okay, draw and write in your journal. We had prompts out of the book. And we actually have journal workbooks that we sell with spiral binding. And the kids use those. They have a journal prompt in the lower left, a page for drawing, a page for writing. And so once we got them started, all of that disruptive behavior just disappeared in the classroom. But the teachers never looked at their work, they locked them up. And they would show the kids, this is the closet, here's the padlock, we're locking this stuff up, nobody's going to see it. Yeah, they had to guarantee to the children that this was safe. And the children wrote me letters when we first did that program, and I mean, I was crying, I was so moved. And they were telling me what the journal had done for them. They were writing it, you know, to the lady who wrote the journal book. And it was just so sweet to hear their own inner experience of this, you know, and how they felt better about themselves, they were doing better in school. Texas is very test-ridden. They've got a lot of testing that goes on in the whole state. And so the teachers would get nervous about the test, the kids would all be anxious, and they would call me, and the teachers would call me, what are we going to do? The kids are getting ready for the test, and they're just all anxious. And I said, have them journal about it. Have them draw and write how they feel about this test they have to take.
Now, if families are working together with the different books together on their sketchbooks, how would you say is the best way for them to approach that? As a family in a group sitting in the same room, or it's time for everybody to go to their own space and create?
There are a couple of ways to do that. I have a book called The Creative Journal for parents. And so I recommend that the parents use that book or The Creative Journal or one of my other books, because it's geared to adults. And then if there are teenagers and children, I recommend that they actually give the book for teens to the teenager, because that's got all the exercises written to the teenager. The Creative Journal for Children is written to adults, and it gives the prompts. So the adult has to write down the prompt or tell it to the child. Now, in many families, they actually have journal time. They do journal time maybe 2 or 3 times a week or once a week.
Okay.
And everybody goes and does their journaling. If anybody wants to share with each other, that's fine. But it's all confidential. It has to really be held that way. I do know a lot of families, I'd say probably the majority of them, where each person in the family is keeping a journal. And that's the other reason for confidentiality. Children need to feel that there's some place in their life where they're not going to be judged. And in school, there is no place where you're not going to be judged. The way you stand in line, how early you get to class, how you do your assignments, what you do in class, all of that is judged and evaluated all the time. So this gives you a little oasis in the schools. Okay, the kid knows this isn't going to be judged. Nobody's going to correct my grammar or my handwriting. And I can write anything I want to.
When a child does bring their sketchbook and they want the parents to look at what they've sketched, or a teenager or even a spouse or a partner, what are some things that a person could do that would be a positive response to them showing their sketchbook?
Well, what I recommend to the person who's going to share is they need to be very selective about that, and they need to share only with people who are non-judgmental. You don't want that journal being judged or criticized by anybody. That just is not going to work. So it's the choice of the person sharing who has the journal in their hand about who they're going to share with, and that's one of the guidelines in all of my